Hey, it's Danielle and I am here with another process video using my Felicity Jane Cozy Kit plus the No Peeking add-on. And the add-on came with this really pretty gold album, and I had a few ideas of what I wanted to do with it, but I finally settled on documenting a bunch of childhood Christmas memories. It's a project I've always wanted to do, and I had all the supplies with this kit to do it with, so that's what I'm doing. I first am going to create a title page for my album. I'm using this red and white striped paper, which I really like. I think it's super cute. And I'm just sticking a piece of white paper on top of it that's just a little bit smaller, probably about an inch smaller than the 6x8 sheet of paper. Then I typed out a couple of different title ideas. So the first option that I came up with was Little Christmas Memories, which would have been fine, but I just felt like the word little made it feel like fun, lighthearted stories. And some of my stories are a little bit more big and special, so I didn't know if I liked that. And then I came up with 25 Christmas memories because the No Peeking add-on comes with these really cool wood numbers, and I thought I could number each of my stories, but I didn't really know how many stories I was going to use. So I finally just decided to do Christmas memories and leave it simple and not have to worry about the number or the tone in which I'm telling the story. And so that seemed to work out great. Now I'm just using some adhesive to get these stuck down in place. I like that you can see that there's strips of paper even though it's white on white. I had even initially thought that I would stitch through those words, which I don't end up doing. And I want to embellish this just a little bit. So you'll see here that I picked a lot of different options and I just tested them all out. This is probably one of my favorite things to do when I am scrapbooking, is just to go through every option that I can think of, just to see what it would look like. Sometimes I think that I'm not necessarily going to use an embellishment. I just want to try it just to see. And sometimes I surprise myself and I end up using it. But for this title page, I settle on this smaller gold star and I leave it at that. I do think some of those bows would have been cute, but there's a story that I want to tell that I think that those bows would be better for, so I'm going to save them for that story. So when I get done with my title page, I start working on the first story of my album. And I printed out a few different sizes of the same photo just because I didn't know which one I wanted to use. Now, the story I am telling is about what Christmas Eve was like as a kid at our house and how it had a magic all of its own. It was very much different than Christmas Day, but it was one of my favorite times that I've spent with my siblings. And so I wanted to get that memory recorded. This photo is not of Christmas Eve night. I'm pretty sure it's of Christmas Day. But when I look at this photo, I remember some of those fun times that we all had together. And I knew going into this album, I wasn't going to have a photo to match every story, that some of my layouts would just be words, and that some of the photos weren't even going to be about that specific memory. But this album is for me, and I think this photo works for this story, so I'm completely okay with it. Now I used a couple of the labels and tags from the cut apart sheet, probably my favorite parts of these kits. I will never get tired of labels and tags, but just to add a little bit more interest, I add some of this really pretty floral washi tape under all of my labels, and I'm going to add that flare button on top of the page protector once I slip it in. So for my story, I decided that I was going to type it out, and as I started typing, I realized I wasn't going to have enough story to completely fill a 6x8 page. And so what I decided to do was just make a little skinny page, and I made it 3x8 instead of 6x8. Now, as I trim this, I realized that I'm cutting too close to my words, and I don't like that. So I decided to reprint it again. And as I'm waiting for that to print, I'm cutting down this green and white striped paper. I guess I should say mint and white, because I'm going to use that as a backing to my journaling. Now, there were some things that I wanted to use on that other side, so I'm just being careful on where I cut so that I can still use the portions of the back side of that paper that I want to use. And now when I cut this for the second time, I'm going to leave a little thicker border around the words than I did the first time, and I think that that looks much better. It doesn't look as tight, and it feels like there's just a little bit more breathing room. So as you can see here, when I place my journaling on top of that striped paper, there's a pretty good border that sticks out around it, and I really, really love how that striped paper looks as a border. I just think it's really cute and festive, and I just love it. So now all I need to do is embellish this side of my layout, I guess I'll say. And I go through the same process as I did before. I just start pulling everything out and trying different things and seeing what looks good and just kind of picking through my kit a little bit. I keep going back to this glitter star because I think that it looks really good, and I actually end up sticking with that in the end. But I do try, I think, just about everything in this little tray of mine. I thought that plaid bow looked really, really cute too, so I debated that. But I ultimately just decided to stick with this little glitter star. I also like how there's kind of 3 pops of red. You have the red on the tag, and then the red label, and then this red star, and they're all in that triangle shape that I guess you try to achieve. A lot of times I don't think about things like that, but in this instant it just kind of fell together and worked. So now I need to make a page protector for my journaling. So I'm just going to take this 6x8 page protector and cut it down and make sure I leave enough room that I can stitch up the side of that. And so then it will fit in there snugly and be perfect. So now I've taken my page protector and also my papers over to my sewing machine and put a bit of stitching on some of these. So you can see there I stitched a line on the top of my photo, and then on my title page I stitched around the whole white sheet of paper. I love the way stitching looks on layouts. I think it adds just enough interest without making it be too much, but you know, when I don't add stitching, I tend to not like my layouts as much. So I think that I probably add some either hand stitching or usually with my sewing machine to most of my layouts that I do. So now that everything is said and done, I'm just getting them into my page protector so that I can see what they look like and make sure that everything fits. And now I can go ahead and stick on my flare button. I decided to glue this to the page protector instead of the layout itself, just because it's a little bulky and I wanted my layout to look nice and flat, and so this was a good option to achieve that. So after this, I decide I want to add a little label to the journaling portion of my layout, and I get out some of the stamps. These are from the No Peeking set, and even looking at these, I can think of a few more stories that I want to tell just by looking at some of the words on this stamp. And so I remember to write some of those down, but that's, you know, there's a lot of times I'll look at the Felicity Jane stamp sets and think, oh, I could tell that story. So I always like looking over those sets when I get them in the mail. So I just cut some little white strips of paper so that I can stamp on them and slide them into my little label. And I picked the one that says Memories, and then I'm using some red to stamp that. And then I take these little strips and I just slide them into that tab. And since that tab has adhesive on it, all I really have to do is just stick it to the edge of my page protector, and then I'm pretty much done. So you'll see here in a moment how I will place these into the album. That's always a really exciting part for me. I always like to see my layouts and my projects all done and complete and in the album. So that was fun to do, especially with that gold album. And then I'm done. So I just want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I would also encourage you to head over to felicityjane.com so you can check out all of the other projects being made with these kits. Thanks so much, and we'll see you all very, very soon.